Welcome to the Daily Bollocks. Today, we're cracking open a really fascinating dossier on one of the most dramatic political developments happening right now. We're talking about the strategic divergence and, honestly, the escalating conflict within the UK's right-wing populist movement. We're going to map out the battle lines being drawn between two major factions, completely objectively analysing the data, the tactics and the ideological schisms that are reshaping the political landscape. Okay, let's dive straight into this, because the spark that ignited this very public civil war is captured perfectly in this stark exchange. You have Rupert Lowe, the Member of Parliament for Great Yarmouth, openly stating that Nigel Farage is a messianic figure who's basically running a protest party rather than a serious political operation. And Farage's response? It was swift and totally uncompromising. He called Lowe's assessment utterly, completely wrong. So, this isn't just a mild disagreement. It sets an incredibly dramatic, high-stakes tone for a bitter schism within Reform UK. To truly grasp the magnitude of this is our strategic roadmap. We'll trace the timeline of the split, look at the ideological divergence of the dog whistle versus the foghorn, and examine the organisational clash. Then we'll zoom in to the Great Yarmouth battleground, unpack the tactical warfare, and finally look at the future of UK populism. Now, to really wrap your head around Lowe's reach, consider the number £3,000. That's what Rupert Lowe is earning every single fortnight on the platform X, formerly Twitter. It's a staggering figure, and it absolutely dwarfs Farage's online income. Lowe's massive online reach is frequently amplified by major figures like Elon Musk, right? And this online ecosystem is exactly what fuels his specific political base and funds his visibility. Which actually brings us to a perfect summary from Professor Tim Bale of Queen Mary University. He describes the difference in their messaging as the difference between the dog whistle and the foghorn, and he notes that Lowe is actively, quote, tooting on the foghorn. Experts are basically pointing out that Lowe is highly effective at capturing an extremely online niche audience. Farage, meanwhile, is attempting a strategy that speaks to pragmatic voters who, frankly, might never spend a single minute on social media. Ideology aside, how are these two entities actually built to win power? Well, Reform UK operates as a highly centralised machine. They rely heavily on a top-down national brand, driven primarily by Farage's huge personal profile. Restore Britain, however, is positioning itself as the exact opposite. They are a decentralised structure, acting as an umbrella for local groups, and Lowe is actively leaning into this. He's even engaging in merger talks with Advance UK, which is led by former Reform Deputy Ben Habib, to consolidate this grassroots approach. Now, what's really interesting here is the hard data. Over 14,000. That is the number of votes Lowe secured in Great Yarmouth during the 2024 general election, giving him a commanding 1,400 vote majority over Labour. Great Yarmouth isn't just some random town, it's literally his absolute stronghold. It serves as the launchpad for Restore Britain, making it the perfect place to see these two opposing strategies collide on the ground. When you compare their local launch strategies side by side, the collision is obvious. On one hand, Reform UK leans into a flashy national strategy. We're talking a sold-out 450-person rally where Nigel Farage literally flies in by helicopter to deliver broad national messaging. On the other hand, Restore Britain takes this hyper-local route under the Great Yarmouth First banner. They fielded 9 deeply rooted local candidates. These are former Norfolk police officers, local energy workers, people intimately tied to the community's daily challenges. It's the ultimate real-world test of the top-down celebrity model versus the decentralised grassroots model. Now, when these two models collide on the ground, the fallout is incredibly messy. The warfare is explosive and it's playing out on several fronts. First off, Reform reported Lowe to the police, alleging he made physical threats against Reform chairman Zia Youssef, alongside serious workplace bullying claims. Second, the Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards opened a probe against Lowe regarding a failure to declare over £600,000 in crowd-funded money for his private rape gang inquiry. And back on the ground in Yarmouth, Restore Britain hit right back. They released videos accusing Reform canvassers of coordinated doorstep deception, allegedly telling voters falsely that Lowe wasn't fielding any local candidates. To ensure total balance here, we absolutely have to look at Lowe's response. He firmly and entirely denies all claims of bullying and physical threats. In fact, the Crown Prosecution Service actually ruled out bringing any criminal charges regarding those alleged threats. Lowe frames the entire situation, the police referrals, the watchdog probe, the old shebang, as a purely retaliatory, malicious attempt to smear my name, simply because he dared to publicly question Nigel Farage's leadership style. So, zooming back out to the national picture, what do all these local battles actually mean? Well, the crucial point is the electoral math. Lowe is successfully drawing in far-right activists, online influencers who feel somewhat abandoned by Reform's march to the centre. But here's the critical data point. In the 2024 general election, 46 seats were won by margins of under 2%. So for a political movement that relies on tight margins, a fractured base poses a severe existential risk of vote splitting that could heavily disrupt Reform's chances in dozens of razor-thin marginal constituencies. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. As Restore Britain and Reform UK engage in this bitter tactical war from the national airways right down to the doorsteps of Great Yarmouth, what does this fracturing ultimately mean for the right-wing electorate in razor-thin marginal seats across the UK? Will this civil war completely destroy the populist right's momentum just as it was building, or will it reshape the movement entirely into something new? It's a fascinating strategic battle and one we're going to be watching very closely. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer and keep questioning the data. Thank you for watching the Daily Bollocks. Like, comment and subscribe. See you next time.